All right, so first thing we're going to be doing today is setting up our database. All we're doing for the database is the users. We're going to do all of the rest of it in the next video. Just after doing some research and kind of trying to figure out how I wanted to do things, I think separating the videos is the easiest way to do it, just because there's a lot of content in these next two. Aside from that, we're going to be setting up our authentication today, which I'm super excited for because I've actually never done it this way. So it's a chance for me to learn something new. The first thing I will do, though, is show you guys how we're going to set up our database. So I have a couple here already, but we're just going to call this the same thing we've been working with here. AWS is good. Now I'm going to actually drag this over here as I put my keys in. That one obviously is fine, but we do have to go to our clerk dashboard and grab some API keys. So public key is fine. And then grab our secret key. All right, so we're going to be using this today as well, but now that that is done, we should have everything that we need. I'm going to save my keys. All right, just want to do that off screen so no one takes my keys. We're going to suppress that rule. Forgot to do that. All right, so as you can see, we now have our database URL, clerk secret key, and publishable key all here, which is great for us. Now, before I open that by accident, let's also go ahead and get our dependencies installed for today. Actually, you know what? Let's just copy it. And then dev dependencies. I don't think we need, whatever, this is fine. Okay. So now the way I have things written over here, I'm actually not going to follow exactly, but we're going to set up the database first, which means we can collapse down these folders. We're going to make a new file. We're going to call it drizzle dot config.ts. All right. Okay, so this is pretty simple. We're just going to export a default personally, I like to have my migrations in my database folder, not in like a random drizzle folder. Granted, it's not really random, but Postgres, and then our credentials, we are going to grab env from here dot database URL. So we should have a connection to our database now, so that's good. Now, inside of this folder here, we're going to create a schema folder, which we're going to have to change a couple things. Schema folder here, and inside of here, I'm just going to create, for now, it's just going to be schema.ts. And actually, I'm going to move this out of this folder. We can restructure this in the next video, but we're going to move this quickly and just get rid of this folder. And we're also going to want an index.ts file in here. So in our index, we're going to import neon. We're going to import if you're looking for more, I don't know, in-depth tutorial on setting up Drizzle with a database, you can leave a comment and I will make a video, or I encourage you to make use of the internet. Drizzle, we're going to have this, and all right, so that should hook us up. Whoa, what the fuck? All right, so that should hook us up to the database, and now whatever we write in the schema will be our schema for the database. So with that being said, the only thing we want today is our users table, and we will worry about everything else after. So again, this isn't a tutorial, but I will just kind of walk you through this. We're going to be doing a lot more of this in the next episode. But for now, ID, and this will be the primary key for this table. This is where we're going to store the clerk user ID. And then we're also going to get their email. Which we do not want to be null. First name. This is optional stuff, so we could change this later on if we want to, but for now it's optional. I could kind of decide later if I want to change that. Last name. Also, if you guys watch these videos and you think that I'm bad at typing, one, that's fair. Two, it's this keyboard. I gotta get my old keyboard back. I just can't type on this one. So I blame the keyboard. Created app, we're gonna default now. And what else do we want? This is also not null. And we are going to do the same thing for an updated at. As we start kind of doing these, this also should be PG. As we start doing these schemas and things of that nature, I'm actually going to start using autofill a little bit more. I don't typically use it just because I find that it's not very conducive to the learning that I'm trying to do. But when it comes to typing things out like this, it just makes it way easier and faster. So with all of that, we should have a database set up. So we're going to do bun x drizzle kit generate. All right, so what do we do wrong here? All right, so we have an issue with our env file. Let me try this. It might just be this. I'm just gonna rename it to .env instead of .env.local. Save that. And yep, that's all it was. All right, so we have our migration, so we can actually look at that here. It's very simple right now, but this will be a good start for us. And then we're also going to migrate this. So same thing, but instead of generate, we're going to run migrate. Migration's applied successfully. So let's see how that worked. Tables should have, yep, we have a users table right here, which looks wonderful. We can collapse that. So now the fun part, we're going to work on actually fetching our users from Clerk and making sure that's synced with the users table in our database. Of course, Clerk has their own users table, but with all of the sort of user specific integrations we have, it's going to take a little bit of time to work out how I want to do this. The other component of this that I need to learn is how we could test properly to do all this. We're going to be using this to create an active session and also get our JWT token. But the first thing actually that I want to do before writing any more code is hop over here and go into the templates. I've already created a template. It's just set to a really long time so that it doesn't expire. We can test with it for a while. I'm not overwriting any of this. It should have all the information we need by default. And this is the template we're going to use when we go to actually fetch our token and verify our user's authentication status. So without further ado, let us create our custom middleware. Clerk has a built-in middleware that you could use. We're not using that. We're going to make a modified version of it. Okay, so you're going to get the TLDR version of my last hour because I spent the last hour or so reading through docs about why what I was just trying to do doesn't work at all. So I'm going to drag this over here so you can see what I was planning on doing, and then we'll get into what we're actually going to do, which will work a lot better. So as you can see here, this is what I was referencing. I was trying to create a custom Clerk middleware. If you know anything about middleware or how Hono works or how the Clerk middleware works, you could probably look at this and realize what's wrong is the fact that it literally just doesn't work this way. But essentially what I was trying to do is make it so that if a user was logged in and they weren't in the database, then they would be registered to the database. And that's basically the extra component I was trying to add on top of the Clerk middleware. That doesn't work at all. So I was running into issues with statuses and this, that, and the other. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to use the default Clerk middleware, as you could see here. We're just going to use the default one. And then the default Clerk middleware will allow us to check for authentication. And then we're going to create our own custom middleware, which will be added after that to ensure that our users are synced properly with the database. So if you'd like me to keep next time all of the parts where I'm reading through the documentation, I could do that. But I felt like it was kind of unnecessary because I wasn't talking about anything. I was just reading and trying to kind of debug what exactly the issues that I was having were. So with that being said, I'm going to go over this route that I created. I created a route. This one is protected. As you can see, we're using get auth, whereas in this one, for example, we aren't. we'll go through and reevaluate what's protected and what's not protected eventually. But for now, we're just going to test our auth out this way, and we're going to hopefully sync with the database using our new middleware. Before that, actually, what I want to do is explain how I am testing authentication. So as you could see here, I have you are logged in. I have this token enabled right here. That's our JWT token. So that is why it says logged in, as opposed to here, I'm not logged in because we don't have a front end. So this is what's being returned to us. So in order to get the token, you can get everything you need from here. You can create a new active session. And in order to do that, you need to include your secret key, which I'm not going to show you, obviously, and then user ID, which I got from my dashboard, and my test user I have set up here. And also, while I'm here, I'll show you the token that I made. Just a template for like a long token, one that doesn't expire. Here, I don't know how many zeros I put. I just put a bunch of zeros so that it would last a while. And now back over here, after you create your session ID, you're going to get this ID. And then I can create a session token from a template. So that's what I did here. Again, you need your security in the body. I put null because I don't want to override it. I already have a value in there. And then parameters is the session ID and the template name. Then when you send that, this long string here is your token. Now, heading back over to Postman, you can add this as a bearer token in Auth. I could also set up variables. Like there's a lot more I could do. There's a lot more we will do with it in the next video. But for now, we're just going to have it here because there's only one route that we have set up that's protected. As you can see, we're logged in. The next thing we need to do is make sure that we actually add the user to the database if they're not synced already. So in our middleware folder, we're going to create a new middleware called sync users to db probably .ts. And we are going to write a new middleware. Now, this is the first time I've actually created a custom middleware that I haven't referenced another YouTube tutorial for or anything like that. So hopefully this works and we don't have another extended period of me looking at docs. And I actually don't want, hold on, let me rename this. Okay, so what we have here is pretty much the exact same thing that we just had, but in its own middleware, minus trying to override the original clerk middleware. So hopefully this will allow us to sync with our database upon making any requests. And we should, if all goes well, see the dummy account put into here. Now, before I do that, I think that since doing this, I have changed some of my settings in Clerk. I need to make sure that emails are, all right, users can, okay. Make sure that we have email addresses and make sure that this user has an email address. Okay. Username, first name, last name. Everything should be good to go here. Now, let's make sure that we're using this middleware in our create app. App.use, and we're going to do sync users to DB. Now, am I still running? Good. It says we're signed out, which is fine. We should be signed out. We should also not see anything new in here. Cool. Now, back over on Postman, where we are authenticated, I'm going to click this. We see that you are logged in, and now the moment of truth. That's actually really exciting. I didn't expect that to work first try. But as you can see, we have a user now with a custom user ID that is set up via Clerk. Now, when we go to front ends, we can have our Clerk login on any front end we create. And when users sign in, we could get their token from their sign in, and we can retrieve any data that we want linked up to this user ID. We could set them up with with new stats, with an inventory, all that kind of stuff, and it's all going to go through the user ID, just like in our dummy database. Here, so we made this dummy database. Everything went through user ID, so inventory stats, all that stuff went through the user ID. We have now a user database with that information. I might make some changes to this in the next video, kind of like, username, things of that nature that would be good to, include in the account. But that covers everything I wanted to cover today. I think I'm happy with the progress. Granted, it was much slower than I anticipated, seeing as we had that setback, but this is super exciting. We have a working authentication built in now, and next episode we're going to get rid of all this dummy data. We're going to build out a real relational database with items and everything like that, and it's going to be super exciting, and I can't wait to code and film that part of the project. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up today's video because I only charged my camera a little bit since it died. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you have any recommendations or you think I did something wrong with how I set this up, please leave a comment down below. I'm just trying to learn everything I can from anyone who's willing to share knowledge. With that being said, I will also link the new Discord channel I created down in the description. I'm just trying to create a nice community of people who are really willing to help each other out. It's okay if you don't know everything, but if someone has a question that you might know the answer to, that's a great place. Otherwise, it's a great place to just hang out, have some fun, make some friends, and I hope to see you guys there. So I appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode, and I will catch you guys on the other side.